Hi, let's talk about inequalities. We're being asked if these numbers, any of them, can satisfy this inequality. X minus 1 is greater than or equal to 7. So I already started. Negative 8, the first number there, negative 8 minus 1 is greater than or equal to 7. Well, negative 8 minus 1 is negative 9. So let's see, negative 9 is greater than or equal to 7. Is that true? No, it's absolutely false. All negative numbers, here's negative 9 down here, there's no way that's greater than 7. After all, that sign says to the right of. Greater than and to the right of are the same thing. Negative 9 is over to the left of 7. So that's false. Negative 8 does not satisfy the inequality. What about 3? 3 minus 1 is greater than or equal to 7. The arrow means that means. Well, 3 minus 1 is 2. 2 is greater than or equal to 7. Ha! Since when? We all know that 2 is not greater than or equal to 7. And also, 2 is over here to the left of 7, not to the right of 7. So no, this is false. Not 3, how about 5? 5 minus 1 is greater than or equal to 7. Well, 5 minus 1 is 4. So that means 4 is greater than or equal to 7. No, not true. Also, 4 is to the left of 7, not to the right. Mark that one out. What about 15? 15 minus 1 is greater than or equal to 7. 15 minus 1 is 14. Is 14 greater than or equal to 7? Well, it may not be equal to 7, but it certainly is greater than. And if we come over here to the number line, 14 is to the right of 7, which means it's greater than. That's how you do these. Of course, there's another way to do it also, and that's to solve the inequality first, this time for y. We're being asked there now. We're being asked, do these numbers satisfy this inequality? Well, a much easier way to do this is to solve the inequality first. Remember, when you're solving inequalities, you always bring the variables over to the left side. If it's an equation, not necessary, but for an inequality, it is. So I'm going to subtract 2y from both sides of the equation. Over here, 2y minus 2y is 0. So I'm left with 0 minus 2. Over here, I have 1y minus 2y. That's negative 1y. And bring down the minus 10. Now I'm going to add 10 to both sides of this inequality. I'll be left with negative 1y over here is greater than 0 minus 2 is negative 2 plus 10 is positive 8. Now to solve for y, I divide both sides by negative 1. And remember with inequalities, when you divide by a negative number or multiply by a negative number, you have to turn the inequality sign around the other way. Negative 1 over negative 1 is positive 1. That'll be 1y is less than negative 1. Or y is less than negative 1. What this tells us is that the only numbers that can satisfy the inequality are numbers that are strictly less than negative 1. Now all I have to do is look at the numbers. 2 is not less than negative 1. Negative 14 is to the left of negative 1. In fact, let's graph negative 1. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, negative 8, negative 9, negative 10, negative 11, negative 12, negative 13, negative 14. The sign now is pointing to the left. Negative 14 is to the left of negative 1. So this will work. What about negative 16? Negative 16 is over here. Negative 16 is to the left of negative 1. So negative 16 will work. Negative 3. Negative 2, negative 3. Negative 3 is to the left of negative 1, so negative 3 will work. Only positive 2 will not work. So these three numbers satisfy our inequality. This is a much faster way to do it. Solve the inequality first. Now we're going to look at set builder notation. You briefly looked at this in beginning algebra. You spent more, that's hard to say, spent more time. With interval notation, we always do spend more time with interval notation, but it's important to understand both. This says we need the set of numbers on the x-axis such that, that's what the vertical bar means, all the real numbers, all the numbers on the x-axis, such that those numbers on the x-axis are to the left of 4 or less than 4. Well, if this number, how about this? We'll let this be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need numbers that are strictly to the left of 4. So I'll have an arrow going off to the left, just like this arrow. And then because, notice, there's no equals to bar, I have to put a parenthesis. Now look at the number line. Our arrow goes all the way to negative infinity. Interval notation shows the left end point, negative infinity, the right end point, which is 4, but the parenthesis means x cannot equal 4, and then a comma in the middle. This set builder notation and this interval notation mean exactly the same thing. The interval of numbers on the x-axis that run from negative infinity to 4, but not including 4. That's how we do it in college. In high school, you probably did this. But here, that means something else, so we can't use it. All right, now here we see that this is the set of all numbers on the x-axis such that x is between -2 and 2, and x is allowed to equal -2, but it's not allowed to equal +2. That's what this says. Well, here, if I let this be 0, then this will be 1 and 2 and 3, and this will be -1 and -2 and -3. X is going to be between -2 and +2. Now the fact that x is allowed to equal -2 means I put a bracket. On the other hand, x is not allowed to equal +2. And x can be all these numbers in between, including -2, but not including +2. So our interval, that means exactly the same thing as this set, will have a bracket on the left, a parenthesis on the right. The left end point is -2. The right end point is +2. And we put a comma in between. Now notice that this, well, I'm telling you, this is written all wrong. Okay? Here's why. If this is 0, no, I can let 0 be wherever I want it to be. So I'm going to let this be 0. And I'll have -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, -8, and I'll put one more number just to give a context, -9. X is between -8, which is on the left, and -4, which is on the right. X cannot equal -4 and it cannot equal -8. So I use parentheses. Okay, this is the graph of that. The interval always puts the left endpoint on the left and the right endpoint on the right, and a comma in the middle. So this is not written correctly. Let me show you the correct way to write it. The set of all numbers on the x-axis such that, all right, -8 is on the left, -4 is on the right, x is in the middle, less than, less than. These are called braces. Now, what this says, reading from left to right, which is the way our language goes, -8 is to the left of x and x is to the left of -4. Or you can say less than. -8 is less than x and x is less than -4. This is the way the set builder notation should be written. You never have numbers going that way. I mean, arrows going that way. They always go this way. Okay. Now write the interval notation for the given graph. Our interval notation is going to look almost exactly like the graph. There'll be a parenthesis on the left, a parenthesis on the right. -9 is the left end point, 8 is the right end point, and there will be a comma in the middle. But that looks a little ridiculous, so let's write it this way: -9, comma, 8, with parentheses. Now, what's over here on the right, at the far right, forever and ever to the right? Positive infinity. And this line is going forever, all the way to positive infinity. Bracket on the left, and then the right end point, and all the way out here to positive infinity, and you never put a bracket around infinity because it's just a symbol. It's not really a number. Now let's write it in a slightly more reasonable way. 5, comma, infinity, parenthesis, bracket 5. I don't know if I said the word bracket the second time. Okay, we're going to be dealing more with this stuff. But right now, let's look at how inequalities are used in real life, one of the ways. We are going to need that, but right now I want to stretch this out. Chris can be paid in one of two ways. Lucky Chris. Plan A is a salary of $470 per month, plus a commission of 9% of the gross sales. Plan B is a salary of $650 per month, plus a commission of 5% of the gross sales. Now this is A, and this is B. For what amount of gross sales should Chris select Plan A? Well, I can tell you the easy answer to that. Plan A has got to give Chris more money than Plan B. Now we've got to figure out how to arrive at those. First, we're going to have an X. And the main thing that we don't know here will become evident, I believe. I'm going to read it again. Chris can be paid in one of two ways. Plan A is a salary of $470 per month, plus a commission of 9% of the gross sales. Plan B is a salary of $650 per month, plus a commission of 5% of the gross sales. What is the main thing we don't know? It's the gross sales. So X is going to be the total gross sales. In other words, it's money. All right, now we're ready. I'm going to do the calculations down here where I have lines. You can see what the answer is. Let's see if we can get the same answer. Okay, Plan A is $470 plus 9% of the gross sales. The word of in math means multiplication. Well, that's got to be greater than Plan B, which is $650 per month, plus a commission of 5% of the gross sales, plus 0.05 of the gross sales. And now we're going to save. We're going to calculate this. 470 plus 0.09 x is greater than 650 plus 0.05 x. I have to get my x's on the left of the inequality sign and my constants on the right. So I'll subtract 0.05 x minus 0.05 x. 0.05 x minus 0.05 x is 0, leaving me with 650 on the right. I'll bring down the 470. Positive 0.09x minus 0.05x is going to be positive 0.04x. Now I will subtract 470 from both sides of the inequality. I'll be left with 0.04x is greater than 0. See, I'll have to borrow a 1, and that will make this a 5. 15 minus 7 is 8, and 5 minus 4 is 1. Now I'll solve for x by dividing both sides by the number in front of x, the number that multiplies x. This is also called the coefficient of x. .04 over 0.04 is 1. 1x is greater than, now, time to pull up the calculator. On 180 divided by 0.04, 4,500. So 1x equals 4,500. That is, x equals 4,500. This and this agree with each other. Namely that, x doesn't equal 4,500. X has to be greater than. I called it x, they call it s. You have to use the right letter or they'll count it wrong. But they've already filled in the letter part for you. So all you have to do is answer 4,500. There will be a blue answer box around each of these. What you will have to do is decide which answer box you're going to put the amount of money in. Now be aware that when you look at this in your own homework, probably these numbers will be different, but the steps to solving will be the same. Also remember that when you watch this video, you can always back up and watch again. You don't have to start from the very front. You can just back it up a little bit, or I plan to have a table of contents that's clickable. You'll be able to do that by just clicking on Show More when you're watching the YouTube video. All this work is designed to make studying for you a little faster, a little easier when you've only got really a 4-week term and then a few days. Okay, I'll go get ready to do the next homework set for you. Bye-bye.